Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Property Subcommittee today, Wednesday, the 8th of January 2025, and to those who might be listening, Happy New Year. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence, Ms. Peach?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've received apologies from Councillors DeVille, Councillor Parry and Councillor Price. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got agenda item number 2, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest for this item? No, for the record, nobody is indicating. Agenda item number 3 is the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of November 2024. Is it your wish I sign those off as a correct record of the meeting?
It is.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5 is... 4, is proposed leases to Academies. This is a pretty standard agenda item. It is would ordinarily... Hang on, I'll get to the right agenda item. There we are. Would ordinarily be brought to you by Councillor Parry, but in his absence, who'd like to take us through the leases? Mr. Turner.
I can do that if you like. Yep. So this is just 2 standard Academy leases. They are voluntary aided and voluntary controlled schools. So the school already own the buildings. This is just for the playing field. So St Bartholomew's in Longner and St Leonard's in Ipstones, both of which the Academy organisation is the Moorlands Primary Federation. So they're standard playing field only leases to commence from the 1st of April. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Legal, any comments?
No comments, thank you.
Finance?
No comments.
Valuation?
No comment from you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody from schools wanting to speak? No. Local member input?
None received, Chair. Thank you.
As I say, these are pretty standard agenda items, so Councillor White, any comments to this item?
Only to reiterate that these are standard leases. We're very familiar with them here. It's a good thing because it gives the schools in question certainty as to their future. So happy to support them.
So we've got the recommendations. You've indicated you're in favour. I am too. So therefore, the matter is dealt with. Thank you very much indeed. So that is approved. Agenda item 5 is the lease of number 5 Victoria Street, Cannock. Just got to get to my... right, this would ordinarily again be brought to you by Councillor Parry, but in his absence, I would ask Mr. Bullock. In fact, Mr. Turner, would you like to start off? Because I'll bring Mr. Bullock in afterwards. Mr. Turner.
Yeah, okay, I'll just do a brief summary. So the property at 5 Victoria Street, Cannock, originally used for education purposes, then it was used by registrars, and then more latterly as a day service. Once that use ceased, we looked for alternative uses or disposal as we do. So registrars who'd moved a while ago in Cannock civic offices, they said it's unsuitable for their current needs. And so the Drug and Alcohol Service have looked at it, and they believe it is right for their purposes in terms of provision for a provider. The lease is at a peppercorn, so it's all repairing in terms of the responsibilities on the provider, but a peppercorn, not because technically it's undervalued, but because the rent payments are all part of the contractual arrangements with the service provider. And obviously that's for Tony Bullock and Sarah Moore to explain a little bit more about. Thank you.
Before we hand over to Mr. Bullock, could you just confirm that the tenants fully understand the definition of a repairing lease? Because we have had repairing leases before, haven't we? And we found that those obligations have not always been fulfilled, not by this organisation, but by others. So can you just confirm that that is the case?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, obviously the lease, when it's drafted, will cover all of those obligations. Again, the kind of the accommodation costs of the providers is something that is part of the commissioning arrangements in terms of the funding. So there are arrangements in terms of the provision for those. So the liability will be clear, and the ongoing kind of contract management of the service also cover those aspects. What I would say is, where we have had issues in the past with that maintenance responsibility is generally tended to be community or voluntary type organisations, and I'll remind the committee that now we do more regular inspections of those properties anyway to make sure they're up to speed. And also, generally speaking, in terms of where we're providing services or having a provider provide services, we have a lot closer sort of relationship with those providers in terms of visiting those premises anyway. So there are mechanisms in place to keep an eye on the condition of the properties. Thank you.
Mr. Bullock, we're with you.
Thanks. And I think we can take a belt and braces approach to that we can include in our contractual relationship with them via the subcontract that we've got with MPFT, that they're fully aware of their obligations around the lease. There's a budget available for the cost to be able to meet any repairs that are necessary, and we can include that in the contract that we have with them. More broadly, the building provides us a real opportunity in Cannock. In the 12 years I've been at the council, we've never been able to secure a permanent base in Cannock. Services operate out of church halls and health centres, which isn't ideal. There's more clients from Cannock in service than any of the other districts in Staffordshire, so securing a base has been a priority for a number of years, which has been really difficult, I think due to some compulsory purchases over the last few years. So the building up provides a great opportunity. It means that we can make some savings rather than paying church halls, which are quite expensive at the moment, and we can get much more value out of the organisation. They provide a fabulous service for us in Stafford. The building will enable a lot more people to be engaged in service, more volunteer opportunities, and so we'll get more value out of the contract that we've already got. So it's a great opportunity for us. We've done consultation via Laura and directly with members. There seems to be good support for the proposal, so it seems like a great opportunity.
Ms Ballinger, I'm going to ask you to speak to the Cannock Chase aspect of this, because obviously you've been in liaison with Cannock Chase over a number of years, I think. So any views from there?
Yeah, so we've liaised with Councillor Tony Johnson regarding this, obviously, as it's within the residential street, to seek perception from local members. We've engaged with them the whole journey for seeking premises in Cannock Chase. So we've consulted with them regarding the potential opportunities that we've had along the way. So there's full support there from both members and officers for having this service, and they recognise the importance of having something within Cannock Chase as well, which is, as Tony's mentioned, something we've needed for a very long time. So full support's been given from local people.
It is back in from my days of being the portfolio holder. It is striking the drug and alcohol addiction levels in Cannock Chase, and I'm really glad that we're potentially able to find a base here to allow them to operate effectively. So I'm going to go to finance.
No further comments than what's contained in the report.
Legal.
No additional comments. I note that it's contracted out with the landlord and tenant, and there's a break clause as well on the second anniversary and each anniversary thereafter, so we can include that in the lease.
Yeah, that's welcome. So if there is a situation where it's not working out for local residents, it does allow us to intervene and move people on, and I hope the tenant is aware of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the current proposal in the paper refers to the restricted use solely for the purpose of a community drug and alcohol recovery hub. We might just need to amend that slightly because there will be other ancillary type of activities that take place on site. So I think just for the purpose of minuting this, there might need to be a slight amendment to that so it's not quite so specific.
You've just become an international man of mystery. What are the other ancillary uses you're thinking about?
Well, I'll let Anthony comment on that. Yeah.
I think the sourcing premises in Cannock is an issue that's shared with other voluntary sector organisations who I think have expressed an interest in it. It might be at some point that the tenant allows other organisations to have some use of the building, not a subcontract arrangement, nothing formal. I think we just wanted to ensure there was a little bit of flexibility, that if there were other charities that were suitable, that might want to provide some provision from the building, that we've got that flexibility to enable to do it if we deem them to be suitable.
Back to legal, is there a no alienation clause in the lease? That is to say, so if you can take a look at the draft lease, if there's something in there that's what's described as a no alienation clause, they cannot do that. Even if they say you can have it for free, you wouldn't be able to do it. So just unless they license it, but of course that then incurs legal costs. So we wouldn't want to be imposing legal costs through licensing arrangements, would we? And also the licensing arrangements, if I can remember my Landlord and Tenant Act reasonably well, would be for a limited 6-month period, or 5 months and 29 days to be precise. Otherwise, the benefit of the day job, I guess. Yeah.
I think the idea, I've just mentioned it, Andy, would be more around, it would be more like a local, sort of local hiring type arrangement rather than a formal legal document between them and another party being able to occupy or have sole occupancy of areas. But yeah, I agree on your point, absolutely. Yeah.
My rationale for asking the questions is not because I'm an awkward so-and-so, it's because I want to protect the principal user from damage caused by, let's say they decide to have a big party and they demolish the place. There needs to be protections in place. So I just want to make sure that that's available through the legal system or the legal arrangements that we've got in the lease, not to be a stickler, but just to protect interested parties, because this is an undervalue, okay, despite the fact it's undervalued, it is a taxpayer's property, and it needs to be respected as such. Any other little surprises you have for us? No. Right, valuation.
No, most of it's been discussed. I think I've provided the estimate of undervalue there in the rental value, and it's obviously outside the Act, which is what I was concerned about, and it is coterminous with the Section 75 agreement. The lease will be will run with that, so it'll expire at the end of the Section 75 agreement.
Mr. Turner, any other comments based on what you've heard?
No, none from me. Thank you.
Local member.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Snape has sent. I have already had full discussions with the officer who is leading on this project. It has my 100% support. Thank you.
Councillor White. No comments. Therefore, we have the recommendations as set out, which is to grant a peppercorn rent lease to Chase Recovery until the 31st of March 2029, coterminous with the Section 75 agreement, to be used for delivering drug and alcohol treatment and recovery services. Final terms to be delegated to the Assistant Director for Commercial and Assets to implement this decision. In favour?
Agreed.
That's both of us in favour, so that's unanimous. That's amazing. 2 people. Could have been a split vote. What would we do then? I don't think I'll vote. Right. Thank you very much indeed for all your efforts there, and very welcome.
And thanks to the committee and everyone for all the work that's gone into making it happen. Very much appreciated.
Right, that means we'd move to agenda item 6, which is the exclusion of the public. There are no Part 2 reports, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is closed. Thank you.